All right, customer Leonard sent this back, said there was leaks in the evaporator, that he had considerable repair costs and 2 more visits to find the leak. He replaced it, the scparts.com evaporator with the, quote, certified SubZero evaporator, and everything was okay. There's a considerable problem with that. These have been leak tested from the factory. Each and every one of them is leak tested from the factory. They don't leave the factory till there's a leak test on it to verify that there's no issues. I've actually put, as you can see, 75 pounds of pressure into the, this one's a little bit more accurate. That needle's a little bit off on the high side. The low side's a little bit accurate, more accurate. It's 64 pounds of pressure. This one needs to be calibrated. 64 pounds of pressure, if you can see that. And it's been sitting here for quite some time, and it has not dropped. There's no leak in the evaporator. He did send it back with, if you can see this, damage to it. There's a pretty considerable dent in there right there. Over in this corner here, you can see where the professional technician that installed this solder. Here's the solder joint up here. Look at all the solder he got on here. It's absolutely ridiculous. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. I think that'll help a little bit. Yeah, see how clean that solder joint is right there? It's unbelievably clean. Right here. And smooth. It's just a little bit of solder. Now look what he did down here. Trying to solder. Just globs and globs of solder. It's ridiculous. You can see the difference between the two there. Here's mine up here. Right there. Right where my thumb is. See how clean that is? And then down here. Look at this mess. Same thing here. Look at this solder joint. You can't even see the solder. It's so good. You see it? Let me go down from below. You can't even see the solder. There shouldn't be a bunch of solder flowing down the tube. I'll burn my camera. But see that solder joint? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Burn up my camera here. You see that solder joint? It's just really, really clean. You can't even see the solder. But this mess right here, look at this mess. Look at it, all the way up to the joint. He got it way overheated with the wrong torch. And also, if you don't clean the joint well enough, you're going to end up with the solder not wanting to flow, or he didn't flux it. I don't know what he didn't do, or what he did. But here's my joint up here. See how smooth that is? I know it's hard to see. But, yeah, you can see it there. See how smooth that is up there? Right there, by my thumb. There's no solder at all down below it. Look at this mess down here is. I mean, look at the side. You can see just... so, he's claiming that... you see that? We're still at 75 and we're still at 64. And then he sends it back. There's all dings and stuff, and that's no big deal. Dings and stuff in it. You know, the technicians, they got it in the back of their truck or whatever. But then, if you look down here, it's almost as though they went through the tube. almost went through the tube. This here, and this is terrible. It almost cut through the tube. I don't know what the hell he did. But there's no leaks anywhere. And so he's claiming he wants his money back. Oh, but he's going to be generous not to want the shipping back. That's not going to happen. He's not going to get his money back. You need to get a qualified technician. This is a good example. You get a qualified technician to install the product. If you don't have a qualified technician, you're going to get a mess like this, like he did with this solder joint. He apparently didn't get this soldered properly. There was so much solder in there. He probably left a pinhole leak in it where the other tube was in there, and he had already pulled that out. And then wants to blame the evaporator. And these are quality, the highest grade aluminum evaporators, 99 or 90% pure aluminum refrigeration tubing evaporators that will not oxidize. I mean, they're resistant, oxidization resistant, the highest possible grade aluminum used for it. They are all leak tested before they leave the factory, as I said. So there's no possible way that we're going to have a leak unless somebody doesn't have a qualified technician, which Mr. Leonard did not. Guess what? He's going to have a leak in a couple weeks, probably, because the guy didn't probably did the same kind of a mess he did here. This is very common. He'll get better in time. So I know it sounds like I'm being negative, but you've got to use the proper equipment, and you have to have experience to do brazing. You got to have the joint clean, sanded with emery cloth properly, use flux, and use the proper solder in the right heat on your torch. You should be on there just a couple seconds and flow the solder, and you're done. Flow the solder, not sit there and keep adding solder. If you're doing that, you don't have a hot enough torch, or something's not quite right. You haven't cleaned it properly or whatever, or a wrong solder or whatever. I have a feeling he also had the wrong solder, because there's just clumps of that solder on there. I've seen it a million times over 30 years. So nothing wrong with this evaporator. Here we are standing here, and we're still at 64. And on this one it still says 75 because it's not calibrated properly. But 64 pounds, and there's no leaks in this. You're not going to have a technician come in, or so-called technician, say he knows what he's doing and make a mess like that. And that's just terrible. That's a guy just I don't think he's ever soldered before, brazed. That's just a mess. So okay, I'm Mike, and if there's anything I can do to help you, email me. It's hard to get a hold of me by phone. Okay? All right, take care, and we'll see you next time.